And so it dawned on me, like, well, I have this pineapple tres leches. Now, my sister, my oldest sister, gave me this recipe like years before that. And every time I made it, you know, like for get-togethers and fellowships and stuff, people really liked it.
But now, was this your sister's recipe, or did she get it from somebody else?
It was her recipe.
It was her recipe.
Now tres leches isn't an original recipe. I mean, it started, I guess, I don't know if it started in Spain or you know, made its way to Mexico. But everybody makes tres leches, right?
Right.
So that's not the original thing. The original thing is how she made it her own. She put pineapples in it, and she had a special type of milk that she would use that made it taste really good. And so she gave me that. I don't know how she gave it to me or what. I think I just really liked it one day when I visited her, and she gave me the recipe, and I just made it.
Right.
So I'm thinking I could go to a restaurant and see if they'll buy it. If they'll, you know. So I'm fast forward.
Is this it?
That's the cherry.
This is the cherry.
The way I came to the cherry was another way.
I want people to see this because it quite literally, and the camera's not going to do it justice. But this is the
cherry vanilla.
One version of the tres leches. So you get the cake, you cut it up, you package it, and you literally just start going to restaurants.
Yeah, it wasn't like that. It was in a foil.
Gosh.
It was in a foil pan. You know, you can smell it. Thank you.
Good thing we have a spoon. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, this is the pineapple tres leches. Okay, so I made it, and it's in the whole pan. And back then, you know, you don't really hear of a pineapple tres leches.
I
guess it's just like on the top or something with fruit, but not inside the cake. So he's like, okay. So he called his wait staff, and they're like, who's this? Oh, you make? Oh, yeah. So they start tasting it. They cut it up, and they start tasting, and they start making these faces toward one another. And I'm watching them, and they're like, oh my God, esto está bueno.
Good.
And they're acting. I love it when people act like children. They were acting like children. Oh, esto está bueno. Y lo vamos a comprar. We're going to buy it. You know. So I'm like, I had a flash in my mind. Like, there's a niche here. This could actually be good. And so I walked out of there with their business.
Okay.
And as I'm driving home, I'm thinking, okay, so it's the flavors. Wow. So then cherry came to mind.
Right.
And then shortly after that, I came up with the cherry and the pineapple tres leches. And that's all I was doing. That's all I was able to do. And so my confidence went up, and I went every weekend as much as I could from restaurant to restaurant with samples and everything. And good thing, since I already still had a job, I wasn't necessarily depending on this money. I wasn't depending on it. I was just trying to get it going so that I can earn some extra money for a year and save it. And that way, so there wasn't any desperateness to it or anything like that, because I've tried to do things like that before and failed. Especially when I was depending on the income. It's really, really difficult. And I admire people who are able to do that, and it's not impossible. No. But when you're young, you try to cut corners. You're lazy. You're this and that. But when you're older, you have the discipline, the people skills.
Wiser.
You have wisdom. You utilize your time a lot more efficiently. You know, so it's better possibility. You know, the older you are, the better you should be. You know.
No, I love it. And what I was going to say at the top here, and correct me if I'm wrong, probably everyone who's watching this has gone out to eat at some point at a restaurant, and chances are that if you've ordered your meal and then you decided to have dessert, there's a good chance that the dessert that you are served came from you.
There's a good chance, yes. If it's mostly like a taqueria or a Mexican restaurant.
Right. For example, Las Palapas.
Las Palapas has been good to us.
So the Las Palapas, that's how I was first introduced to this years ago. There's a Las Palapas right by my house, and they have the case with all the desserts rotating around, and you see them in the little boxes right here. But how many, do you even know how many restaurants you supply desserts to?
Us personally, from this location, we bake and deliver from our vans to about 250 restaurants at a 2.5 radius from San Antonio.
So if you were to name drop just some of your the household names, like some of the restaurants, I mentioned Las Palapas, but other places that feature your restaurants that people will recognize.
Taqueria Vallarta.
Yeah.
Some Guadalajaras, Tapatíos, Tapatías. Then when you, even, what's the name of that? It's over on 1604, outside 1604 and 281. Tomatillos.
Right.
They serve our desserts.
Now, how many different desserts do you make? Because it's not just the tres leches.
We have 12 items. We have 12 items. It started off just with the pineapple and then the cherry shortly after that, and I stuck with that for quite a while.
How are you so slim still? How do you not weigh 600 pounds?
I like to joke around like this. But you want to get thin, get stage 4 pancreatic cancer, and you'll lose a lot of weight.
So
we'll get to that in another time.
No. Well, I knew you had overcome cancer, but I didn't realize that is quite literally that is a terrible way to lose weight.
That was my death sentence.
You would literally. I mean, stage 4 is usually it doesn't end well.
No, you're gonna die.
So how are you sitting here still?
Yes, man. All I can say is that God honors faith, and every individual is his own thing. It's like there are no exceptions. There are no, no protocols on how you can get miracles in your life. It's all about the individual, I'd say, and we all have it in us. It's just, miracles don't happen just to happen. They happen when you need them.
Hey, all that time,
I needed it.
All that work you put in pastoring, I mean, you were able to cash that in probably and it came back.
Well, I don't think it's good works. I think the reading and letting the word, understanding the word and how God works. And of course, there's no formula to how God works, but having some experience about faith and what the Bible talks about faith, that is definitely very helpful. Yes.
Unbelievable story. And welcome to everybody. I know Susan is on here talking about it. She's calling you a miracle man. And please share the video, tell your friends here. It's just such a compelling story. I mean, I can't imagine, I hate to say it, but I can't imagine there are a lot of stage 4 cancer survivors of any cancer that are still living and able to tell their story.
Well, I'll share something with you. When the doctor came in and told us that.
What year was this, by the way? This
was right before COVID.
Right before COVID.
August of 2019.
Oh my Lord.
Right.
Okay.
August is our anniversary.
Yes.
Okay. So August of 2019, I'm in the hospital. The doctor says, you're at stage 4 pancreatic cancer. I never heard of pancreatic cancer. Mm-hmm. And so blah, 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 blah. And she was very gracious. She said, usually only 3%, extend their life, which I didn't know, but extending your life could be like 3 months more, 6 months more, a year, and then very few might extend it up to 3 years or 5 years, and then they die because it comes back or whatever. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I didn't know that. All I heard was that 3% make it, right? That's how I interpreted it. And so at that moment, I said to myself, I went into my own little world, into my own mind, and I said, well, what makes those 3% that survived more special than me? Obviously, it's a rhetorical question. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, then count me into those 3%. I'll take it. I'll be one of those 3%. Somebody's going to be 3%. And then your mind, because of your subconscious and your past and what people say and how things you learn in life, your people you hear and your parents and teachers, etc. Who do you think you are? What makes you the person? Blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And it makes you feel bad. And so it came to mind and I had to answer that. So I thought, right away, I said, I can't answer for the 97%. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry that they died. I can't answer for them, and I don't know who they are or what they were going through. All I know is that I can only answer for myself. And the scripture came to mind right away. And so according to your faith, is what he told that lady with the issue of blood, let it be done unto you according to your individual faith. And I thought, okay, so according to my faith, then I choose to be the 3%. And I don't know about the others, but this is the fight, the good fight of faith that I have to choose to fight right now. So I choose to live is the conversation I'm having in my mind. And then what makes you think you can choose to live? What makes God is the one that ultimately said. So I had to say, well, God is the author of life and death. And if I choose to live with him, then, or if I die, well, then I'm going to die living. So then I choose life is what I came to. So I'm going to live until you say so.
Right.
But right now I'm choosing life. And if this is the path you're showing to me by revelation, and then I'm going to hold on to it, and I'm going to believe you're doing this out of your goodness. But if you decide to take me, well, then I'm going alive. I'm living on. And so I'm going to leave living is the argument I had in my mind. And so that was what I held on to. I choose life and I'm going to live. So then I came out of this and I said, so what's the next thing we got to do? What do we got to do? I'm here now. What do we got to do?
Right.
And so now I'm being aggressive. Now I'm being
No, I can hear your passion. Well, we're all better for it. You're here, and obviously you're still making your dessert.
Our business was going down.
That was what I was going to ask, is because how do you run a business when you've got stage 4 cancer?
Well, we were pulling all the resources we had because I don't have insurance. Okay, I don't have insurance.
Oh, man.
So my wife's getting loans. My wife's pulling from the bakery. You know, you're not supposed to do that. You know, the IRS, whatever. Oh, well, I mean, you can. You're just going to have to pay taxes on it. But hey, I mean, I'm trying to live. She's trying to survive. And my wife is just so awesome. And she's like, Adelso, the bakery's going to die, you know, and so on and so forth. And then COVID happened. Okay. And so here's the really interesting thing about it is that before COVID happened, we had this big distribution company that was interested in our desserts. Mm-hmm. And so we were applying for an SBA loan.
Right.
And my wife she has all documents, but it's a lot of work because they ask for a lot of docs. Mm-hmm. And she's getting everything. And it took her, weeks to get everything, and then COVID hits, that falls. Okay, so we were going to get some money to have enough capital for startup costs and to carry us through while we do transitions and so on and so forth. I get my cancer, that falls through the cracks. And then, you know how they came up with the employee relief and the government, they came up with that. Right. Well, you needed all those documents in order to apply for that. Well, we had them. And she immediately sent it. And by the providence of God, it was just, providence, right? Mm-hmm. You're just doing things and it paid off in a different way than we had no idea that it would. And so because she had all the documents in order, she submitted it. And weeks later, we were able to get relief one after another. And then that helped us. And that kept us alive in the business. And here we are now. And so meanwhile, I couldn't work really, but I told my son and my wife, because they helped me in the business. Mm-hmm. Now my daughter is awesome. She has her own business, right, and she's there, but of course she's not helping in the business, right, but she's there supporting me and everything. And I looked at them and they're trying to find a way to keep this thing alive. And they're now going to split my responsibilities on top of the responsibilities they already have. Yeah. And I'm like, how am I going to help them? And it just dawned on me, the way I'm going to help them, the only way I'm going to help them is with my attitude. Right. And to not complain. And I never complained. And I say that because, first of all, I made a decision I wouldn't, because it's not going to do me anything. Yeah. And it's not becoming of a human being. But I didn't want my kids seeing me and my family seeing me. No, I'm not making fun of anybody. No, okay? I get it. But I want them to see me dying while I'm fighting. But they see if you're okay, then they're okay, and they can focus on the business. Yes, and I told them, you guys do what you have to do. I got a staff full of people that are taking care of me. Don't worry about me. And so I think I was able to help them. Later, my son did tell me out of the blue. He said, Dad, one day, he said, Dad, I never saw you complain ever. And that made me feel so good, because I never ever wanted him to see me complain or anything. No, it was tough. I went through some pain. And you don't hide that. But I didn't allow the circumstances become a subject of my conversation whenever anybody visited me.